So could you please repeat your question? Topic about the
When
weather.
right, when we begin a conversation, Americans frequently use the weather as a topic. Is that a typical topic for Russians who are just beginning a conversation?
Mm.
About what? About weather?
Or about anything. So, that's a very good question, Irene. So if I meet you on the street and we are talking, how do we open the conversation? What is a topic we can discuss without any danger of insulting the other person? A very neutral topic.
But if you already know the person.
Yes, that would be one way.
I don't know, it could be just some general questions like how are you, how was your day, how work, some kind of these questions.
Okay.
And good. And so, Irina, when you say how are you, how's your day, how is work, what does a Russian usually respond to that?
I'm okay. The work is okay.
Yeah. What's that beautiful Russian word? Нормально.
Нормально, да.
And we have been teaching Professor Marston that Russian word. How would you define it? How would you just translated it beautifully? You said, okay. Right, not good, not bad.
Not bad, yeah.
Okay.
This is a very interesting question to me because I had last year I had a very nice young Russian woman who was here in Des Moines working for me, and I would ask her how she was, and she would say, okay, and I would respond, what's the matter? Because if I ask Professor Smith, how are you?
I'm going to say wonderful.
Yes, wonderful.
Splendid.
Great.
Oh.
Yes.
Excellent.
And so I said, well, I said to my friend Lena, how would you say that in Russian? And she said, "Normalno." And I said, what does that mean to you? What is it? What's normal? Because she seemed very depressed. And so she said, just regular. And I'm going, that's not regular for me. So if she'd asked me how I felt, I also would say, I'm great today. How are you?
And so even if you weren't feeling great, right, Professor Marston?
As long as I could hold up my head.
So what, Irina, give me some other examples. The phrase we have in the chat is small talk. What are some topics you might, so you said, hi, how are you? How was your day? Would you ask me, say we meet on the street, and maybe we know each other but not well. Would you ask me about politics?
No.
Would you? No, that's probably not a topic. And why would you not ask me that?
Because maybe you don't like this topic and not so understand this topic, so, and you are not interested in it at all.
And what else? Maybe I will have some views that are very different from yours.
No, it's not a problem.
That's not the problem. See, this would be what I would think about if I see Professor Lero on the street, and I say to him about American politics, boy, those Republicans are making a mess of things. in Texas, there's a very good chance Professor Lero is a Republican. And so maybe I don't want to insult him. But you're saying, Irina, that wouldn't be a problem for Russians.
No, I said it's not will be a problem, just it will be a big conversation.
So you're more concerned there would be a debate. Olga, what do you think? Do you have the same view?
The politics.
Yes, is that a good topic for small talk?
No, I do not. It's not a good idea to speak about politics.
And why not?
Small talk.
And why not? Why is it a bad idea?
For example, I am not interested in politics, and I will not be able to talk about it, to have a chat about this topic.
So it's not that you might be insulted, you're just not interested.
Yes.
Okay. So in the American...
I think it will be not a small topic already about the politics, because when you just started to talk about it, you just can't stop.
We have this wonderful phrase in English, open up a can of worms.
Yeah.
But everything will pop out, everything will come out. It will be an hour-long discussion. That's very interesting because we would never use politics in small talk, but the reasoning is different. Irina, what about religion? Can you ask somebody about their religion during small talk?
No. And
why not?
Also not in the small talk, in the big talk too.
even in big talk, even in regular conversation. Why not? Why not?
Because I think it's some kind of problematic topic, and it's some personal for someone who believes and to not believe. It could be some kind of, I don't know how to say, argument if you will start to talk about religion. So it's a dangerous topic.
Right. It might sound like you're judging them, like you're judgmental.
Yeah.
Right. If they might think that you are judging them and making some, having some preconceived or stereotypical notions about them. And that, I think, is very similar here in Texas. Right. Although there is one or two questions you might hear, especially in the Midwest. I see Professor Marston has put up the question, what church do you go to? Do you hear that question, Professor Marston?
I have been known to hear it.
And what mean have you been saved?
Have you been saved? I'm going to turn that one over to Professor Lero. He is the theological scholar.
Have you been saved? Have you been saved? Well, one of the tenets, one of the beliefs of Christians is that is the idea of redemption, of redemption, that mankind, humanity is a fallen race, and that one of the reasons that we are Christians is so that we can be saved. That is to say, that we can know eternal life and eternal happiness.
Oh, okay.
And kind of a shorthand way of determining that is to ask the question, have you been saved? That is to say, have you been saved from eternal damnation? And missionaries and proselytizers and go from house to house and they knock on the door. They say, have you been saved? Have you been saved? And if you say no, then they say, oh, then hear the word.
Hear
the word.
We need to talk and have a long conversation.
Yeah, we have Constantine. Constantine is with us now.
Constantine,
yes.
good evening.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning. We were just talking about small talk. What you can talk about when you meet somebody or you are just starting a conversation. And we have decided that the weather is always a good topic.
The topic is the weather?
Maybe when you have just met somebody and you want to find a topic that is not dangerous to discuss, not controversial. What can you talk about? And we were just saying you can always talk about the weather with somebody you don't know.
I can't realize what about you say no. I don't include yet.
Ah, okay, all right, and we'll keep talking, and I think you'll join the theme. Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk a little bit about stereotypes today.
Okay, I want to make one more small talk comment. I'm putting it in the chat right now. If the conversation is in a bar, a man may ask a woman, you know, what's your sign? What's your sign? And you understand that, right, Irena?
But I think it's question more not for the man, for the woman.
It's for the woman, eh? So
I think yes.
Yeah.
I think the woman's all the time asking the guy, and what is your sign?
What is your sign? Okay, and that's Olga. What do you think? Who asked that question, a man or a woman?
Yes, I can agree with Irena. The woman ask this question. The women ask this question.
Yeah, and Olga, why does the woman ask this question? Is it what? It sounds innocent, a harmless question. What's your sign? But what are you really asking?
They try to find the man who can
I'm going to help you. I'm looking for a man with whom you will be compatible. Compatible.
Yes.
That there will be some common interest, or at least, if not common interest, that at least no collision. No collision, right? Yeah. So, Olga, are you interested in what my sign is?
Yes.
Huh? Olga,
and we will stereotype you based on that.
I will tell you, both of you, that I am a Pisces.
What?
Pisces, Rebe.
Reba. And I am a Pisces as well.
Oh.
So
and I am also a Pisces.
You are? Oh.
Yes.
Your birthday is, we're near your birthday, yes, Olga?
Yes. It's nearly.
Nearly your birthday. Well, well, happy birthday, Professor Marston.
Not a Pisces. I'm often considered a typical example of my astrological sign, however. If you are a follower of the zodiac, would you care to guess? I have a summer birthday.
I was saying it's a summer birthday. Are you a Leo?
I am a Leo.
Oh.
What's that for a guess?
Leo.
Well, some people would say it's not a guess.
Married to a Leo, so I.
Oh, so you recognize the sign.
Well, Irena, I'm getting the impression that you know a lot about signs. Is that right?
I'm not.
No, huh?
Now, what is your sign, Irena?
Libra.
You're a Libra.
But that's a water sign, isn't it?
No.
Yeah.
It's the Libra. Wait.
The scales, right? I think is that Professor Marston the symbol that we frequently use for Libra?
Yes, it is.
The scales.
Scales? Oh, okay. All right.
My daughter is a Libra.
Just as the conversation was getting interesting.
A sign from above, right?
A sign from above.
Well, is that very like a Pisces to leave when things get interesting?
Oh, excellent. Now we're stereotyping.
Now we're stereotyping. we will. Какой твой знак, baby?
So
all right, we'll go to national stereotypes now.
I wanted to play with Leo just one more minute. Does anybody know what the stereotype is about Leo?
Well, I have the impression that they are kind of self-absorbed.
Oh yes.
Is that true?
Isn't everybody?
Everybody else, you mean? We have left Konstantin out of this discussion. Konstantin, what is your zodiac sign? Do you know?
My sign is, I don't know, Leo, it is lion.
Yes.
Leo.
You're a Leo as well.
I could have guessed it.
You and Professor Marston are both Leos.
Interesting. How interesting. Let's see. We know everyone's sign. We know everyone's sign. Eh?
Yeah.
Libra and a couple Leos and a couple Pisces and 3 Pisces actually. How interesting.
That's a lot of fish.
A lot of fish. A lot of fish.
Libra. What is it, Libra?
Scales.
Balance. The balance
And
scale.
so what is it, scale?
Let's see.
What is that in Russian? I don't know my signs in Russian.
Visi.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's not da.
All right. Now,
Even that I read your blog, I still say it like that.
Now this week we're talking about stereotypes, and we're talking about national stereotypes. We had invited you to watch an episode of the TV series The Americans. Let's see, Irena, did you have an opportunity to watch that show?
Yes, I watched, but just the first episode.
First episode. Konstantin, did you?
Yes, I did, but on the first episode. And
first episode is fine. And Olga, how about you? Did you have a chance to see it as well?
No, I see only the short episode from the first.
Okay.
From the first series.
We've had some of it. So what? Irena, what is this show about? Tell us what this show is about.
Well, the show about the life of 2 Russian spies, not 2 Soviet spies who lived in America, and it's a woman and a man who's married and have 2 children. And the storytelling about their lives as a family and as a spy.
As spies, yeah, huh? Olga, do you think that there were such people?
Actually, there was.
In reality, were there spies like this?
I've never met spies in reality.
Are you sure about that?
No.
Not that she will tell us about.
She will tell us. Konstantin, were there people like this?
No, I didn't believe in it.
You didn't believe in it. Do you believe in Anna Chapman?
It is a very strange history about Chapman.
Huh?
She's.
I think she wasn't a spy, actually.
Not a very good one, right?
Yeah.
Well, okay. So it's an interesting premise. It's an interesting theory that KGB agents would infiltrate America and pose as Americans and use that as a cover for their spying activities. It's really and with children and a car and going to the grocery store and living normal American lives. What does this tell you about? Now, in the show, we're talking about stereotypical. I mentioned a typical American family. What are some of the stereotypes of a typical American family in this show, Irena?
Well, actually, I didn't saw some stereotypes.
The way they live?
Well, they have the house, they have the car,
and
take the children to the school.
Okay, so far so good. Konstantin, how about they have a house, they have a car, they take their kids to school. What else do they do, Konstantin, that makes them look like typical, stereotypical Americans?
I noticed that they sing the national anthem of USA with a great pleasure. Americans are patriots of their country, and the Russian spy too.
Good, Olga. So they're Russian spies. And what about as Russian spies? Do they exhibit any stereotypical behavior?
From the show, I saw only a short episode.
Okay.
No idea actually.
No. Okay. Well, I think maybe a general observation might be that the Russians are suspicious and paranoid and will resort to devious, complicated schemes to get information.
I think it's more about the woman and not about the man, actually.
More about the woman, huh?
Yeah.
The devious and suspicious.
And kind of paranoid. And
paranoid,
it's about
yeah.
her. Because she said one phrase that I don't care about nothing. I will die for my country, some kind of this. So.
Is that true? Is that true of Russians?
I think it's the true of the Soviet period, actually.
Soviet.
Yeah, not for today. But
you don't know anyone who would die for your country?
Today?
Yes.
I don't know.
Disbelief.
Well, do you think this show will improve the image of Russians in America or worsen the image of Russians in America?
Who, me? Well, I don't think that it will improve because it's of the Soviet period and the hard period about the nuclear war, the Cold War kind of this. And it's about Russian spies and some, how to say, the story about this period, maybe not so true story, but still. And I don't think that it will improve.
Yeah, it's a believable story. Have you yourself, Irena, ever been stereotyped?
I don't know.
Oh, Olga, how about you? Have you ever been stereotyped?
Maybe only about my view. I'm a tall girl, and when I met a new people, they always ask me some question like, "Are you a player of volleyball or something like that?"
Basketball, right?
Yeah, that's an excellent example. Konstantin, have you ever been stereotyped?
No, I have not.
Never, huh? No?
I think so.
No?
I can't imagine it. What is it to be stereotyped?
Yeah.
Maybe when I was a student, at first the marks, at first the student marks at first the student work for the good marks, and then good marks work to the student's reputation, stereotype. Maybe
grades, yeah.
So.
Konstantin, have you ever stereotyped other people?
Maybe sometimes, but I can't say it exactly.
Well, think about it.
A first expression, maybe it is stereotype.
Irena, how about yourself? Have you ever stereotyped other people?
Yes.
Sure, of course. I can imagine that. Well, give me an example.
Well, how I wrote in the blog, that I think that everyone stereotypes some people every day, actually, because when you just see some person at the first time, so you stereotype him about how he's looking, his behavior, and after when you will meet him more, so you already will understand which kind of person he is in real, and not by the stereotype that you made from the first sight. So that's kind of, and also that's kind of stereotypes and stereotypes about some nations, I think.
When you were an Israeli soldier, and when you were on duty, you stereotyped people, huh? You stereotyped Palestinians?
Yes, but actually I still do this.
Okay. Well, I think, that there are cases and Americans stereotype Russians and Russians stereotype Americans. I think we all stereotype. It's an easy way. We're looking to characterize the people we meet, to kind of put them into little boxes. I would like this person. I would not like this person. I want to know more about this person. I don't care to know anything more about this person. And we do that all the time. Olga, how would you stereotype? What's your stereotypical view of a professor?
Of the professor.
A professor.
The stereotype of professor is I think it's a very clever man or woman.
Что ты давно помер?
With this knowledge of some different kind of
we have an expression in English called absent-minded professor. Absent-minded professor. Absent-minded professor. Do we know what that means? What does that mean? Irena, what is an absent-minded professor?
I don't know.
I don't know, huh? Konstantin, do you know this expression, an absent-minded professor?
I don't know, maybe. No, I don't know what is it.
No. This is an absent-minded what?
No, I translated.
Someone who is so preoccupied with great ideas and theories that he forgets things. He forgets he can't remember small things. He can't find his glasses. He's forgetful. That's a stereotype of a professor.
Kind of crazy.
Kind of his theories and thoughts.
Idiosyncratic.
Idiot.
Well, let me pose myself as a model. Is there anything about me that fits your stereotype about a professor? You know, I've been a professor for several decades. But I wonder if there's any connection that you can make between me and your idea of what a professor is like. I was going to say a real professor.
Are you forgetful, Professor Marston?
Not usually.
Not usually. Who can ask Professor Marston some other questions? We're going to find out if she's a absent-minded professor or not. What questions would you ask her?
Professor Marston, have ever, when you started to talk something, and after you forgot, from what did you start?
I might have done that. I might have done that once or twice. My mind does tend to wander. I try to avoid that by keeping good notes about the path I want to stay on. I have to confess that I have, on occasion, begun teaching a class in the wrong language. That's kind of absent-minded.
So you came into English class and started teaching in French?
Actually, I came into French class and started teaching in Spanish.
That's absent-minded, yeah.
The students were very distressed. So, do you normally think of professors as stern? Or authoritarian?
Stern, what is it?
Stern.
We need to find a good Russian. Yeah, strogi, I think, would be the good Russian word. What do you think, Konstantin? Our professors.
Sometimes they are strong, sometimes they are kind. It depends of person of professor.
On the personality, yes.
It isn't stereotype for professors.
So it's very hard to stereotype professors. So your point, Konstantin, is that it's very hard to stereotype them, right? Because they are all different.
My stereotypes of professor?
Yeah.
I don't realize, don't understand.
So you just said it's very hard to do that, right? To stereotype. Because they're so different.
They're very different, yes.
Yeah, very good point. That's a very good point.
But I think that it's more easy to stereotype professors for the younger students.
Yes, so maybe in grade school.
Yeah, but also on the first courses in the university.
Is it easier to stereotype a nationality?
Yes.
Yes, and we've probably asked, but I will ask again. Is that Irena? What are some stereotypes of Americans that you have?
About the Americans?
Yeah. What are some stereotypes you might hear?
Well, the most popular is of course about McDonald's.
We all eat at McDonald's, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think that it's bad actually. I also love McDonald's.
And are we happy people or more neutral people?
No, I think more happy people and all the time smiling.
Yeah.
And patriotic and religions, a lot of religions. It's going to church on Sundays.
And Olga, what would you add?
I can add that Americans like their order, I think. Order.
Americans like order.
The Americans.
The Americans too.
The Americans like order.
We like order and organization.
Yes.
And would you? Don't? And Russians don't?
I think the Russian people are more disorganized. I'm not sure that it's correct word. It is.
Yeah, good word. Konstantin, what would be some stereotypes you have of Americans?
I wrote in my blog, not in the blog and commentary, that I can't see the difference between Russian and Americans. Maybe our mass media didn't form the stereotypes of Americans. I have an imagination about Americans, old-fashioned Americans, about Thomas Sawyer, about Scarlett O'Hara, and about our contemporary, I don't know how to say it, about American of present. I have no imagination, and I have no stereotype. Modern day, yes.
Modern day, yeah. So you're trying to develop images of Americans today.
Sorry?
So you said you do not have an image of modern day Americans?
Yes, I have no stereotypes. I have no images. Yes.
That's very good. That means you are very international, right? And we should all try, I think, to have fewer stereotypes. Professor Marston, what images do you have of Russians?
Well, there's this one that we talked about earlier that that I think stays with me. This business of normalna, because I think that Russians seem to be very much more serious people than Americans. Maybe they're more honest than people who always say, if you ask them how they are, they say, "I'm fine, I'm great." But I do perceive that as stereotype, that when I ask Russians how they are, they don't really hide any negativity. So I guess that would be one. I know a number of very thoughtful Russians, so it may have something to do with the fact that I have a limited experience with Russians, but I am really pleased to see how thoughtful this group is in avoiding stereotypes. I don't think people are always that thoughtful, no matter what their nationality. So this is a compliment to those of you who work at avoiding stereotypes.
Professor Marston, you had some pictures, I think, to share with us.
Oh yes, let me upload them.
You know, as you load those, I want to observe that that Americans are different from Russians, and Russians are different from Americans, and that's true in many, many ways. And coming to understand that, and coming to respect the differences, indicates that you have a kind of cultural competence, that in addition to linguistic competence, which all of you have, which all three of you have, that you also have a level, you've reached a level of cultural competence. There's a difference between adhering to stereotypes and recognizing and respecting the differences in other cultures. And I would encourage the three of you to continue to note the differences. You're right, Americans do smile, but does that make them superficial? No. Russians do say normalna. Does that make them dour and gloomy? No, it doesn't. It's a cultural difference. Professor Marston?
Okay, so I have uploaded 3 pictures that I would like you to look at. And the one that I uploaded first is 0136. And so tell me about the person that you see in the picture. What is this person? What can you observe about him from his dress?
I'm sorry, it's a guy or it's a girl?
Okay, so that's a good question.
Because it's hard to understand.
Yes. So, what would make you think? Okay. So, it's a guy. I'll tell you that.
Okay. Thank you.
So, and you wondered about that. You don't see anything. Look at the tabs at the top of your screen. The first one is Quick Start, and then Meeting Info, and then you should be able to click on a tab and see these pictures one at a time. This one is 0136. And so we see a young man with long hair. Do you see that now, Konstantin?
Yes, yes, thank you, I see it.
And he's wearing a T-shirt. What does the T-shirt say?
Could you repeat your question?
He's wearing a T-shirt. What does it say on his shirt? There's a word there that starts with M.
I can't understand.
Megadeth.
Huh?
Megadeth, yes. His shirt says Megadeth, and there's an image of...
Megadeth, what is it? What does mean Megadeth?
Rina or Olga, do you recognize it?
Do you see the skull on the picture?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so have you ever heard of Megadeth?
No.
So that's a good thing. It's the name of a heavy metal band.
As I thought.
Okay, this young man wants to be a rock star.
This is a young man?
Young man, yes. So now, if you look at the next image, it is 1865. This is the same young man.
1995.
I'm sorry. Okay, 1995, we'll look at that. You may have to change the size of it at the bottom. At least for me, it's quite large. This is the same young man as the one in the previous picture. Do you have difficulties now telling that it is a young man?
No.
And so what is different?
Well, he's cut hair.
Yes, he cut his hair.
And also, I think he's lessen the weight. He's losing the weight.
Yes, he lost weight.
Yes.
And of course, he has a stubble beard, which most women don't have.
Yes.
Does this person look more respectable? Okay, now look at the third picture, 1865.
It's not open.
Okay. If you go up to the tab.
Just seeing a white screen as well.
Oh, you are. Well, I guess I should try to upload it again. It's really part of the. Okay. Now, I'm going to try again. Okay, now can you see 1865?
No.
Gosh.
I cannot either.
Okay, I don't know what to tell you. It's the same young man, I'll just tell you this much, in his band costume, because he plays in a heavy metal band.
Mm.
And I'm sorry you can't see that picture because I don't know.
When Professor Marston says he plays in a heavy metal band, Olga, what stereotypes do you have about him?
Mm-hmm.
You've never met him. I've never met him. What stereotypes do you have when you hear he plays in a heavy metal band?
I think he like nightlife. He goes to different nightclubs. He likes loud music.
Ah, very nice. He loves music. Do you think he's a good student? Do you think he's a very smart student with top grades?
I think no. Maybe it is a stereotype, but I think he is not very good student.
Because, yeah, we all say, you know, maybe musicians aren't very smart, right? And then when you look at the picture 1995, Irina, what do you think about that young man?
So he could be a good student.
Yeah, he looks like a good student there, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Who behaves his parents and helps his grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
And is that true, Professor Marston?
It is.
And she knows that because...
He's my grandson.
Oh.
And now I have removed all the other pictures except the pictures of him that you haven't been able to see before, and I wonder if you can see it now.
We are still not seeing it.
Okay, well, then we need to move on.
All right, we will share that perhaps later. Let me try and share an image. I think we're going to move on, Professor Marston, because time is money, right?
Time is money, yes. Unless you don't have a dime. And then, if you don't have a dime, then all you have is time.
Ah.
It's a song.
Let's talk about time. I think Professor Marston's song will get us started. She has lost her singing partner, so maybe we will not have another performance. Professor Lero had to go to another event. How we think about time says something about us as a culture. So I'm going to ask you some questions about time. Olga, I'll start with you. Are you a punctual person? When somebody says, meet me at 10 o'clock, Olga, what time will you arrive?
At 9:35, I think.
You will be early. You will not even just be on time. You will be early.
Yes.
And when people are late, when you say to somebody, meet me at 10 o'clock, and that person comes at 10:30, how do you feel? How do you react?
I think I will be angry, but I will not show this to this person. I think I will be polite.
Okay. So you're a very punctual person. Are you a very organized person, do you say?
No, I think I'm not very organized person.
Ah, that's very interesting, right? Because we think punctual people are organized, right?
Maybe, but I'm trying to be unorganized, but I always have something which I have to do, but I don't do these things.
So maybe you procrastinate a little bit. So that those are things that you are supposed to be doing, but maybe you don't do them maybe until there's a deadline, right? Irina, why don't you tell me about yourself? Are you a punctual person? When somebody says, meet me at 10 o'clock, what time do you come to that meeting, Irina?
Same with Olga. I will come early.
Oh, you are a very punctual group. When somebody is late, you say, meet me at 10 o'clock, and they come at 11 o'clock. What is your reaction?
Well, if this person should come at 10 and will come just at 11, I don't think that I will be wait at first.
You'll be gone, right?
Yes, if it will be till 11. But if it's some important meeting, so of course I will be waiting. And if I know this person well, so I will be angry and I will tell him. But if not, if I don't know this person well, or it's some job meeting, so I will be polite too.
Okay. And so, would you call yourself an organized person, Irina?
Yes.
Okay. When you have a deadline to do something, right? Somebody says this work must be completed by March 1st. When will you complete the work? Maybe February 28th or maybe March 10th?
Now in the same day that I should to do that.
So right on the deadline. You are going to meet the deadline.
Yes.
Okay. Konstantin, how about you? Are you a punctual person?
Maybe I try to be one.
And are you successful?
Sometimes.
So you're maybe in the middle, right? When you say to somebody, meet me at 10 o'clock, and they come at 11 o'clock, are you angry?
You see, we live in Moscow, and we have a great problem with the traffic jam, right?
The traffic jams, yes.
Probki.
Yeah, probki.
It's possible to late about half of hour or even hour.
So it's very easy to be late.
It may be in Moscow. But I don't know what is the reason. So my behavior should depend on the reason of late.
Yes.
Who is late.
So you will think about why were they late?
Yes, of course.
Very interesting.
In Moscow, there are many reasons to be late.
Okay. And so time is a very interesting measure. It can be a metric. And we know, I'm going to put a chart on the whiteboard, if I can have 1 minute. we know there are different types of cultures. And one way we can think about culture is to think about time. Can you all see the graphic called times? The tab? Can
oh,
you
yes.
see that?
Yes.
So click on the tab that's called times. We know that there are cultures that are sequential. Everything goes in a sequence. You do one thing at a time. Time is very precise. You want to show up on time. Time is limited, right? We started this conversation by saying time is money. And deadlines are important. And what you are describing to me today about Russia sounds very sequential. Would you say that all Russians, Olga, I see you on the screen. You said time is very important to you. You're very punctual. Are you representative? Is that true of all Russians?
I think no. All the people are different.
And how are they different?
Some people are punctual, some are not.
Yeah, and
I think it's not a problem of a nation, but each person.
So each individual, right? Yeah, very good. Then we know there are some other cultures, and the technical term for them is synchronic. And they are a little bit different. They say, well, time isn't exact. It's just sort of a plan. If you tell me to show up at 10 o'clock, maybe I'll be there at 10:30, maybe 11 o'clock. Time is flexible or moldable, we say here. And relationships are more important, right? I believe Konstantin said it depends who the person is. Maybe I need to know why that person was late. So, Irena, I'll ask you the same thing. How would you describe Russians вообще, in general? Are they like you, or are they different about time, Irena?
Well, I think it's to also depend from the person, but I'm thinking that most of the Russians trying to be organized.
Organized.
Yes, and try to come early to the job or to some places.
Okay. And Konstantin, what do you think? All Russians, are they punctual or not punctual?
I think even not all Americans are punctual, and not all Germans are punctual. And
excellent. That was my next question. Yes. So you don't think all Americans are punctual, even Germans, right? What is our stereotype of Germans, Konstantin?
Stereotypes of Germans. Oktoberfest.
Yeah, and we think they are very punctual, right?
Yes, they are very punctual. They like beer. They are a very good scientist. They are they are very good specialists at all, and they like would not go over there.
Yeah.
Etc. They're very good nation for role models.
And they don't like Russians.
They don't like, right, so this is the stereotype, right? They don't like Russians. And
I don't think so.
And why would you say that? Why?
No, we just Konstantin described some stereotypes or his imagine about Germans, so I just put in and said one of the stereotypes. But I think it's partly true, actually.
Yeah, and maybe history plays a role.
Yes, maybe. And maybe also the cultural specific of Russians, the difference in the culture also.
Yeah, very different cultures, very different histories, very much so. What other stereotypes? So,
I think that culture and tradition are not very different between Russians and Germans, because many times Russians and Germans lived in one country since Catherine the Great, since 18th century, and Germans was our teachers, was our engineers, was our workers even, and we have many. We possessed many elements of German culture.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned Catherine the Great. Wasn't she a German princess?
Yes, she was. I don't remember. I don't remember where she was from, but from Germany.
Yeah, and she brought all sorts of European influence, right? Also, French speakers came. She brought some European influence, right, from Germany. Yes, but I think she was even German by descent, German немецкого происхождения, да.
Yes, of course. She is pure German lady.
Who was going to add something, Elena or Olga? Were you going to add something?
Well, I'm not so agree about that. We are kind of same with Germans, even that we have such a historical period, because I think it was so long and the people already forgot about this experience with living together with Germans. So, and now the people remember just experience of the living in the USSR, and it's kind of different. And also the German that we had in the period of the Union State, two parts of the Germans, that one is have some same behavior with us, and some of totally different. So.
Yeah. So very complex question, right?
Yeah.
Always a good answer, right? There's a wonderful neutral answer when somebody asks you a question, and maybe you don't want to answer it, or maybe it just is complex. You can say that's a complex question. You know, the equivalent, I think, in Russian of sложный вопрос. You know, very complex, very, yeah, historical too. You and Konstantina both mentioned the history. Olga, what about your views on the Germans? What do you think of them?
I think we're very different. Russians and German people, very different. I agree with Konstantin. They are good specialists in many kind of science, in many kind of professions. they have a good car.
Good cars. Yeah, very nice. We think that too here in the United States.
Very expensive.
Very expensive. Yes, still for us too. And Olga, tell me some stereotypes you might have or Russians might have about Americans.
About Americans.
We won't be insulted. Don't worry.
As Irina said, the most popular stereotype is that Americans eat at McDonald's.
Okay.
And I think I don't have any other stereotypes. I've never difficult to say.
Well, Konstantin, I will ask you. You just mentioned some stereotypes about the Germans. What would be some stereotypes about Americans, Konstantin?
I don't know. I said that I don't see the difference between Russians and
that's
Americans.
right. I like that argument. Very good argument. Irina, what stereotype might you say about Americans, or a Russian might say?
I don't know the stereotypes about Americans, actually.
Only McDonald's.
Only McDonald's, yeah. About other nations I know, about the Americans.
So I will tell you some, I will be the American who tells you some American stereotypes. Frequently, I hear that we Americans are always smiling.
That's what we're told.
What's that?
We're already told that about smiling.
Right. What else? And many people say that we tend to be happier, right? Some people think that Americans are, Professor Marston, help me here. What would be some good stereotypes to describe us?
We smile a lot, but we're not really very good friends. We don't mean it.
Yeah, we're superficial friends, right?
And
we don't form deep relationships.
We like our gadgets.
We like our technology, yes. And another one I've heard is that we're very spoiled. Is that fair to say, Professor Marston?
Yeah, I've heard that.
We always want the food we want when we want it. We always want everything to function just like it does in America. It sounds like my teenager. Spoiled. But I think we have.
What does mean spoiled? What does mean superficial?
Superficial is поверхностный, на поверхностный, just on the surface, on the very top.
Not really friends.
Not really friends. Not too deep, right? Not you know, we're maybe
yes,
you know.
Superficial, yes.
Yeah, superficial means on the surface
And
only.
spoiled.
Spoiled means like a teenager, right? Always wanting things, always self-centered, unreasonable, demanding. Maybe an American will go to Europe and go to a hotel, and it's time for breakfast. And the American wants a big breakfast, just like in America, and will say, I want a big breakfast, just like in America. But maybe a European breakfast will be different and have some bread and some cheese and some, different things. What would be a good word? Caprizni is part of it.
Испорченный.
What other? Испорченный, I think, would be perfect. Yes.
Capricious.
Spoiled.
Thank you.
Yeah. Caprizni would be related to capricious. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank heavens for Latin.
Yeah.
So I've posted another picture in the context of a stereotype. Does anyone recognize this woman? And can you see her? It's called Stereotyped.
Ah. Yes.
Barbie.
Barbie, yes. You're exactly right. She
Tell
is
us.
famous. Tell me what you know about this woman.
About Barbie?
Yeah.
It's not a woman, it's a doll.
Yes, exactly. But this woman is not a doll.
Yeah, I see. But she looks like a doll, actually.
Yeah, and that means she's successful because that was what her intention was. She is famous for looking like a Barbie doll. And so let's see. Konstantin, do you know about Barbie dolls?
Yes, I heard about this doll, but I can't recognize it.
Well, it looks like this woman. And she's actually quite famous because of the way that she has reshaped her body.
Yeah.
Do you know what her name is?
No.
Have you seen her on the Russian internet?
No.
She is from Odessa.
Really?
Where apparently there are a number of women, of which she's the most famous, who want to look like Barbie because it gives them celebrity status. They get to be a celebrity. And her name, my chat isn't working very well, but I will see if it comes through. Let's see. I can't even type anymore. So, can you see that name? Does that ring any bells?
What does it mean?
I have just come back from being booted out. Who is this person, Professor Marston?
I believe her name is Valeria Lukyanova.
Ah, right.
She's from Odessa. And her claim to fame is that she has reshaped her body to look like the Barbie doll. She's recently been touring the world, and she had a quite successful visit to New York City, where she met an American man who is famous for looking like the Ken doll.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they were photographed together. This woman has a degree in architecture. She's quite well educated. But I think that was not making her either rich or famous. And now she's both rich and famous because she's taken advantage of this stereotypical view of woman as doll.
And do you have a picture of Ken?
I didn't save a picture of Ken because, for one thing, he wasn't as good as she was. And she set she behaved badly when she was on television with Ken because she thought he was a real ass. She didn't like him at all.
And he's American?
I believe he is American, yes.
Mm.
He's a fashion model.
Mm.
But this really is an incredible feat of makeup and diet and exercise. So I just thought while we were talking about stereotypes, I would show you this. And now we've come to the end of our time, I believe.
I believe we are at the end. So what a good conversation today.
Thank you all very much for your contributions.
And next week we will continue our discussions, and there will be an assignment on the website. And thank you all for writing. It is always good for us and very important for you to be writing whenever you can, every week, ahead of time. And so I know we read Konstantin's essay and all of yours when you write. So please do every week try and let us know your thoughts on the theme that we are talking about that week.
I really enjoy that, and I try my best to respond to those things and to tell you a little bit about myself. So
have a good week. We very much enjoyed meeting with you all, and we will talk to you next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Talk to you all soon.
Bye-bye.